The car investing world is crazy. A $5,000 purchase could make you $1 million. No bullshit. The title, everything's... We're not faking shit around here. There ain't no fake news, alright? A Dodge Challenger just sold at auction for $975,000. A 1970 Challenger. It's not just your standard Dodge Challenger, to be fair. It's got a pretty cool backstory. It all comes from a nickname that you might know, the Black Ghost. It might sound familiar to you even if you've never heard of this car, because Dodge just released a Black Ghost Edition Challenger as part of the Last Call series, as kind of an homage to this car. That name, the Black Ghost, was not given by its owner, but by those who watched its taillights disappear into the night in the Motor City. This 1970 Dodge Challenger RT came with a 4-barrel carburetor on a 426 Hemi with a 4-speed transmission and some 11-inch slicks borrowed from a family member. The reason it became known as the Black Ghost is because it would put a gap on the people in Detroit and would never stick around to chat. That's because there was a slight conflict of interest. And that conflict of interest was because its owner, Godfrey Qualls, was a cop in the city of Detroit. So, street racing your 1970 Challenger wasn't really something that was allowed. Godfrey would only show up to race every once in a while to blow off some steam. I'm assuming being an officer in the city of Detroit is not an easy job. After just a few years of going racing every couple months, the Black Ghost would disappear for 40 years. Sadly, Godfrey passed away at the age of 73 in December of 2015. Godfrey left the car to his son Greg. Godfrey had left the car to his son Greg, who had only ridden in the car once, but was a fellow gearhead. There was a quote that said when he did go for that ride that one time, he heard the car start and it shook the entire house. So after inheriting this car, Gregory went through and restored everything that can go wrong in 40 years. Luckily, it was parked inside, so it was mostly just all the rubber, radiator hoses, brakes, etc. After a couple of years of blood, sweat, and tears, the Ghost was ready to go. There's a quote from Gregory here that is just awesome. "I get it now. It's a lot of fun. You can feel the power. It puts you right back in the seat. Sure, new cars go fast, but it's not the same. They just go. But this car is always halfway on the edge. If you hit it too much, it'll go sideways. Maybe that's part of the excitement." God, I love old muscle cars. Now, Gregory would go out and take this thing to the car shows in the area, and on one of these shows, he won a pretty nice award. It won the Historic Vehicle Association's National Automotive Heritage Award. Casey Maxon, the manager of the HVA, nominated the car to the National Historic Vehicle Registry. The National Historical Vehicle Registry, they go through and basically detail every last little bit of legendary American cars. It's on that list with the fabulous Hudson Hornet. That's fucking cool. As well as the 1969 Chevrolet Corvette, which is my favorite car of all time. This little Challenger was a big deal. Earlier this year, Gregory, after putting blood, sweat, and tears into this project, finally decided it's time to let this car go. So he put it up for auction, as people with National Historical Vehicle Register cars would do. That's where this Black Ghost 1970 Challenger sold for $975,000. And after taxes and everything, it actually eked out over the $1 million mark. Now, this car has an incredible backstory, and it actually made it onto major news networks. A sale like this is actually not too uncommon for these old cars now. At the exact same auction, a Plymouth Barracuda sold for $2.2 million. This is a car that I don't think you could have bought for over 10 grand when it was originally sold. And of course, it wasn't any normal Cuda. It was a 1 of 4 Cuda 440 Rapid Transit show car model. So it's not exactly your everyday Cuda, not that there is one. This same kind of car probably would have sold for like $400,000 not too long ago. And that's because Since the 90s, the antique car market has been making a shift. See, what becomes valuable at auction is who is willing to pay for it, of course. And the people who were born in the 60s, who've been working at that corporate job since the 80s, are starting to make that crazy CEO money, and they're wanting to go buy their childhood dream car. And that will tend to be something rare, like a black Challenger that was an urban legend, because bragging to your buddies at the golf course about any regular Challenger is apparently not good enough. And like I said before, Dodge recently just made the Black Ghost a trim package in the Last Call series, so it's getting a little bit more attention than it probably would have. Between its incredible backstory, Gregory's amazing restoration of this car, and the fact that it was put in the National Historic Vehicle Register, basically everything was going for this car. So you combine all those factors, and that's how you make $1 million Challenger. As far as automotive investing goes, it's not really that complicated. You don't need a car this special. And you'll start to see this happen on a smaller scale with the 70s cars. The second gen Camaro, or the 70s version of the Camaro, has actually gone crazy in price recently. In my area, they have a demo derby every year, and there are so many Camaros in that fleet of cars that go out and race and wreck into each other. And now you can't find one for under $5,000, and those usually are piles of shit. Same thing has happened with the square body Chevy. We're talking about a truck that you could probably buy running for $500 to $1,000, is now in that similar price range of around $5,000. So now in 10 to 20 years, I wouldn't be surprised if I saw a short box, two-door, perfect condition square body Chevy on the Barrett-Jackson block going for crazy prices. And they get even better when there's a cool backstory. So if you're thinking what I'm thinking, the next cars in line that are dirt cheap now might be worth something. Give it enough time. Now, this is not financial advice, but if you're a car guy, you want to make some money, here's how. Go find a very clean example of a 80s car or even a late 70s car that maybe has a cool backstory, or it was a rare color or a rare trim package, and just park it. Like one of the anniversary edition Corvettes or the Dodge Daytonas, which I think are kind of cool. I could even see one of those old Ford LTDs going for something crazy at some point if you get a good one. And I'm a Dodge guy, and I love Carroll Shelby, so if you go and look real carefully, you can go find yourself some of those Shelby Mopar cars that were pretty cool, but not very many of them were made. And you find something with some low miles on it, it'll be a great deal later on. Basically what I'm saying is, if you're willing to put in some time into a car and know what you're looking for, you can try and make some money with all these cars. They don't all have to be money pits, even though that's how I like them. But you can also have a huge bust, so don't go buy a car you won't like anyway. And that's the thing about investing in cars. You aren't really making too much money most of the time. You might make money while enjoying the car, and that's the coolest part. I think the greatest example of this is the early Porsche 911s that were air-cooled, that were not worth shit 10, 15, 20 years ago, that are now $1 million cars. And if you bought that just to enjoy it for 10 grand, now you're sitting on a gold mine. But if you find a car you enjoy, and it's a great low mileage example, maybe go out and drive it twice a year, take it to the shows, whatever you want, you can still enjoy it while it's sitting there hopefully making you money. And that's kind of what I like, is even if you end up losing money on it, you still got to enjoy the car in the meantime. What I plan on doing is going to find a super clean anniversary edition Corvette and drive it every once in a while, and hell, maybe I break even on it. Either way, I basically got to enjoy that car for free. But like I said before, don't go spending money you don't have on these cars trying to make a quick buck, because it's usually a very slow burn and you never know which one's going to pop. So do your research. Find something that is maybe a rarer car that nobody's really paying attention to, or if there's a legendary car you know about nearby, maybe go knock on that old lady's door and see what she's willing to do. That sounded weird. See if you can exchange money for a car. Don't do anything weird. Finding a car you can enjoy is where the true fun is. A lot of us guys in the performance world where we just like buying cars to drive fast kind of just think of cars as a money pit, and it's not really the case. You could turn around and make $500 on a car in a week if you know how to detail or you're good at paint work or anything like that. Just find something you're good at in this crazy world of cars, and you might be able to make some money in it and do what you love to do. That's pretty much all I have to say about this topic. Just go out there and have fun, I guess, and maybe we can all make a little bit of coin on the side so we can get our go fast parts. But yeah, thanks for watching, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on anything that drives.